Hey, you. Yeah, you. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Dessert. If women are men's wives, then the mistress is definitely dessert. Dessert is a course that concludes a meal, often an evening meal. The course usually consists of sweet foods such as confections dishes or fruit, and possibly a beverage such as dessert wine or liqueur. But in America, it may include coffee, cheeses, nuts, or other savory items regarded as a separate course elsewhere. In some parts of the world, such as much of Central and Western Africa and most parts of China, there is no tradition of a dessert course to conclude a meal. Do you have any idea how fucking insane that is? Do you know how many meals in my lifetime I've had to eat just to wait for that beautiful dessert? How many vegetables? And I'm not talking about potatoes or more potatoes. I mean those shitty vegetables. The ones that are green and purple and orange. I've had to literally put in my mouth just so I could get a sweet dessert and just end the course of the meal on a good note. So many. So many times I've suffered just so I can eat a beautiful, delicious piece of cheesecake or just a beautiful scoop of ice cream that just melts in your mouth, and I assume would also melt in your hand. But the term dessert can apply to many confections, such as biscuits, cakes, cookies, custards, gelatins, ice creams, pastries, pies, puddings, and sweet soups, and tarts. Oh, wow. I think I'm going to have to take off my pants soon. Oh, sorry, are we recording? Okay. Three, two, one. Fruit is also commonly found in desserts because of its naturally occurring sweetness. Some cultures sweeten foods that are more commonly savory to create desserts. There's a lot of things wrong with what I've been saying the last minute. First of all, one, I should be wearing pants. Two, I've never heard of a sweet soup. And to have a soup as a dessert, it's just not going to happen. And fruit, well, okay, fruit could be a dessert. I don't consider it a food, but I'm just saying, I'd rather have something that's bad for me. It's almost like when you have a meal. A dessert basically means you've earned this. Everyone, deserves a good meal. But do you really deserve a good dessert? Have you had a really hard day and you just want to come home and eat something and then you realize it's just leftover shit from yesterday? But then you realize, oh shit, I got some ice cream in the fridge. Yeah, some beautiful vanilla or chocolate or strawberry, worst case scenario, mint chocolate chip, in case you don't feel like brushing your teeth that night. It is just magical. The whole concept of dessert is that it allows you to relax after you've had a really good meal. But at the same time, you're still hungry. You still want to end on a high note. In many cases, a lot of people say that when you have dessert, it's actually good for you in the sense where it makes you less hungry. So if you eat just a little bit and have a dessert, The sugar kind of like sits on top of your food in your stomach, you know, and it just kind of fills you up. And that is a beautiful feeling. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I like to focus on this podcast just about beautiful desserts. Keep it simple. I'm not a complicated man. I just like a good dessert. Now, according to chattylane.com, they have the top 25 desserts in the world that'll just make your mouth water. And there's nothing wrong with having a nice dessert. Nothing. People say you don't need that dessert. Okay. I mean, I technically don't need to go outside and go snowboarding. Why? Because I think it's fucking stupid. But you know what I think is not stupid? A beautiful, delicious plate of unnecessary sugar and flour and more sugar, and it just makes me so hungry. I wish I had a piece of cake right now. And I just realized I just had a piece of cake a half hour ago. But you know what? I don't give a shit. Because that's how good cake is. So, we're going to run down a couple foods. About 25 of our favorite old-fashioned desserts. Number 1, coffee cake. Now, the irony of coffee cake is that most coffee cakes do not contain any coffee. It's just an excuse to have cake with coffee. Because a lot of people, they just want to eat something with their coffee. Something that's soft, spongy, and has a whole bunch of sugar that, you know what, we don't need, but at the same time, yeah, we need it. So how surprised is it when you realize you bite into that delicious coffee cake and you don't have any coffee? But who cares? Coffee cake it's just magical. It really is. Number 2, peach crisp. Oh, the name alone just gets you excited. Now, it has fruit in it. I'm not going to lie to you. The peach in peach crisp gives it away, but it's actually pretty good. It's mostly served with vanilla ice cream, so something hot and something cold. Whoa, that sounds pretty good. It's basically little crumb bits of sugar, and baked in is the peaches, and then you put the ice cream on top, and then wow, incredible. Number 3, apple crumble. It's almost the same thing, except I believe, and I could be wrong on this, that they've actually put apples in it instead of peaches, and it's more crumbly, so hence apple crumble. Again, you can warm it up and put vanilla ice cream on it. You can put chocolate on there too. Let's not make this a race thing. I'm just saying, whatever you want to do to it on top is fine with me. That did not sound clean at all. The point is, it is delicious. Crumbly. Number 4, pound cake. You will eat this cake and gain lots of pounds. But you know what? At this point, guess what? You're already fat. So who gives a shit? You're going to slice the cake and it's going to feel very thick and moist. Again, this is not helping how I'm saying it, but at the same time, it is delicious. You can put some kind of topping on it, some kind of syrup. It's up to you. But the way it is by itself, it's very satisfying and filling. Number 5, banana cream pie. 3 words. that just go so well together. First of all, bananas are awesome. They always have a great taste. Have you ever had some beautiful banana pudding? Picture that in a cream form, and then picture that on top of an Oreo base cookie pie. Boom. You're welcome. Number 6, date squares. Despite what you've heard, you do not need to go on a date to eat these squares. Chances are, if you're making these at home and a big tray full, and you're the only person there to eat them, chances are you can't get a date. So instead, you just eat these. A classic blend of brown sugar, oats, butter, and sweet dates. Oh, wow. Can someone say it's hip to be a square? A date square. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I completely forgot what number we're on because at this point I'm in a diabetic coma. So, I'm not going to give a shit. Neither should you. So, I'm just going to list all the foods without numbers. Because age is nothing but a number when it comes to sweets, and chocolate cake is our next one. A golden oldie from your childhood with a little pop of color. Listen, chocolate cake has been around since the beginning of time. Everybody loves chocolate cake. Whether if it's made that day, a week later, it's just delicious. You put some chocolate frosting on there. What more do you need? 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers. Who gives a shit? You have a nice cold glass, chilled chocolate milk, or even just regular milk. It's right there for the taking. Bread pudding. Bread pudding's alright. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite thing. But a lot of people like it. I think this is more of an English thing, no? And the English, they know how to fill themselves up. Especially when it comes to dessert. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with bread during a meal. So why not have bread for dessert too? The ambulance you just heard in the background, don't worry, it's not for me. It's just background noise. Although in real life, if I did eat all these foods so far, that would be for me. But until then, let's move on. Coconut cake. My dad loves anything coconut, but coconut is one of those weird things that a lot of people just cannot get into. But if done right, it's perfect. Coconut on cake, in my opinion, is like mustard in a sandwich. All you need is a little bit. You can't overdo it. If you overdo it, it's too much. Have you ever tried to open a coconut? I didn't think so. I don't know where I'm going with this. Next one, lemon loaf. Lemon. Now, for some reason, when you get older, when you get about, let's say, 65, 70, lemon ends up being your best friend. You put it in everything. I can't explain why. It just happens. I like lemon in my drink. Other than that, I'm good. But a lot of people like lemon cake. They like lemon, they like cake. So they just combined it. And then they make it into this big loaf. There you go. That's it. strawberry shortcake. Now, here's a good compromise. You got cake, which is good. You got a whole bunch of whipped cream. Awesome. You want to make it a little bit more healthy, put some strawberries on top of it. Hey, I'm not complaining. If you got to put that many strawberries on top of that much whipped cream, and if it makes it look like the best dessert sandwich in the world, almost like a cake version of the Big Mac, fuck it. Just go for it. I think you'll be pretty happy. Next one, angel food cake. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you, I'm no angel, but I love angel food cake. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing. It's almost like a sponge cake, but just lighter. Floats away. Flies away. Like an angel. Whoa. And there you go. Whipped cream, blueberries, maybe some raspberries, strawberries, whatever you want. It is perfectly, dreamly, I can't even speakly. Once again, those were more sirens going by. And again, if I did eat all this food, I would definitely need 2 ambulances. So there you go. But I'm fine. I'll be fine, guys. Don't worry. My pants are still off. Oatmeal raisin cookies. Now, who likes to stay regular? Raise their hands. There you go. I understand. So, it's a good way to start the day, and it's a good way to end the day. Just don't have too many. But they are good. They say they're better than regular chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to tell you that is complete bullshit. But, again, when you hit the age of 55, you tend to morph yourself into the whole oatmeal, mint, I like hard candy more phase. And this is part of it. And that's okay. Straight out of the oven cookies, made of oatmeal, a little bit of raisins. Why not? Let me be healthy for just a couple minutes a day. Pecan pie. My oh my. That sounds just fine. How can you not love this? Old school pie. My pecan pie. Oh, I've loved you since I was 9. For copyright purposes, I'm not going to sing anymore. But yes, when I was younger, I used to eat this all the time. Again, it's kind of like a middle between younger kids, sweet enough for them, and it's got a lot of nuts and bread, which is good enough for old people. So it's a good little mix. It fills you up. Something good to have maybe when you're snacking, because it's a little bit more heavier at times, depending on how big of a slice you cut, of course. And plus, it's got pecan nuts in it. What more do you want? I rest my case. Upside down cake. Now, I've never understood the concept of an upside down cake. I'm assuming you could trick somebody by flipping the cake on its other side and it looks the same. And nobody's gonna give a shit. That's cool with me. I mean, a lot of people serve it with fruit and I don't know, to me it looks like normal pound cake. I don't know. It looks good, you know. I just don't see the concept of why they call it an upside down cake. Am I gonna do some research now? No. I'm good. It looks good. I'll believe that it's upside down. Rice pudding. Now, rice pudding, it's great. I'm half Greek, the rice pudding in Greece is just way better. Am I saying it because I'm half Greek? None of your business. The point is, it's beautiful. The way it's done, if done right, mushed up, not too much, not too little. Put some cinnamon on there. Cinnamon is key. I went through this shit already with the Valentine's Day hard red candies. Real cinnamon is brown. It's perfect, just the way it is. Leave it alone. You put that on top of the rice pudding, beautiful. I don't need to say anymore. Hot pudding. Okay, so it's like pudding, but it tends to be hotter. Now, I'm assuming you have to put it in a pan, heat it up. Again, you can put whatever toppings you want on it. Fruit, butter, more butter, whatever floats your boat. It doesn't matter. After us eating all this shit, we're gonna die anyway, so what does it matter? Let's just go nuts. Ginger cookies. Oh boy. Ginger cookies. Is it just me, or like, do you know when a ginger cookie is made right, when you look at it, it kind of looks like a brown moon? Like it's got all the cracks in it, and it's got the little spots in it from the sugar, you know, because we didn't put enough sugar in the batter, but we got to put sugar on top of the cookie too, just to make it visible, you know, just to make sure that the heart attack really kicks in, just in case, you know. Oh, is it a false alarm? No, it's a real heart attack. We have twice the sugar. We're good. Thank you. And they do kind of snap. A lot of people call them ginger snaps for some reason. I'm pretty sure anything snaps when it's hard. That's what she said. And it is a beautiful cookie. You like gingerbread? You like ginger cookies. That simple. Boom. Fruit cobbler. Okay. It's basically a cobbler with fruit in it, you know? It's a little bit more crumbly, a little bit more messy. It's not something you can just pour in your hand and eat it. You need a bowl. You could use a fork and spoon if you want to keep it classy. That's fine. I get it. But, yeah, looks good. Tasty. Sorta. Whatever. I'll eat it. Sponge cake. Same thing. The name gives it away. It looks like a sponge. Curly from the Three Stooges accidentally ate a sponge thinking it was sponge cake. That's how real this cake gets. You put cream on it, put some fruit on there to, again, fool yourself that you think you're eating healthy, but you're really not, you know. It's like people that eat granola bars instead of a meal, and then they realize, wow, it has 500 calories in it? Okay, cool. But yeah, it is delicious. Definitely recommend this one. Strawberry rhubarb pie. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Inside, it looks like Hannibal Lecter did some shit in here, but it is actually really tasty. Now, I'm assuming when you make the pie, you put a couple slits in the middle there just so the pie can breathe. That's because it's packed with so much shit in there. It just needs time to breathe. But once you bite into it, it's awesome. But before you do, put it on the windowsill. Watch that magical smoke smell go out the window, and then you'll see like one of the Looney Tunes characters like float to your window, and then you just smack them with a mallet and go, no man, this is my pie. And I believe that is it. So if you're not in a sugar coma at this point, there's something definitely wrong with you. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm more of a cook than a baker. I've tried to bake some things. One time I was at the cottage and I tried to make a cake, And I had no idea what the cake would look like. I mean, it was supposed to be one of those little simple sponge cakes, you know. Um, what are the pans called? You know, they got the hole in the middle there, you know. And I kept have to going back and forth from my friend's house across the street. I kept checking it every 20 minutes, opening and closing the stove. Now, a lot of you people are saying, "Wow, you're a fucking idiot. You're opening the stove." So again, I did not know that. I did not know that. I thought it was like pizza. I thought you just open the thing and magically there's a cake. I mean, the thing never rose. You know, it didn't like rise up and get hard like it was supposed to. That's what she said. And it just did not work out. So ever since then, I did not attempt to make another cake. Instead, I would just go to a grocery store and just buy one really cheap because honestly, if you invest the time in making a cake or a pie, it's really not worth it. You know, I was thinking about like this: if you make a certain amount an hour, and then you gotta put that time into whatever, and then it's like fuck it. There's no point whatsoever. And then a lot of times you go to these like bakeries, you know, which is really beautiful, by the way. I mean, I should say this to people: when you go to a bakery to get a dessert, you know, you could go to like a name brand one. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you go certain parts in your city and you find like, you know, a mom and pop bakery, those are the shit. And especially ones that have been around for like 20, 30 years. You know, if they only take cash, that's, you know, another great thing because they probably make that much money. They just don't want to involve Uncle Sam. You know, it's beautiful. It really is. You know, if you can find these places in your city, I advise you do that. Because one, you know, it's the real thing. And two, it just tastes that much better. It really does. You know, a lot of people say they're a European bakery, but are they? I mean, you go in there and, you know, nobody speaks English, you know, which means you're more than likely in a European bakery. But I mean, on some level, they speak some sort of English, you know, like worst case scenario, like if you point to something, like they'll know what you're talking about because obviously you're pointing at it, you know. But a lot of people they have no idea, you know. They think you're pointing at like the floor tile or something, you know, and then you got to do kind of like a circular motion, you know, and then you got to bring in those two orange sticks that they use at the airport, you know, and you're just like directing them, you know, in one direction just to, you know. Anyways, I'm telling you in the end, it's worth it to go to one of these places. But my main concern is that a lot of people just don't appreciate how good a good dessert is. And people say, "Oh, I have dessert like once a week," and you know, you're stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, if you're depriving yourself of something really good, just eat it. You know, I mean, your body's already used to it. Like when you're a kid, you know. And there's different desserts too. You know, I'm not saying you got to have like a piece of cake. You know, have a piece of candy, have a piece of chocolate or something. You know, I mean, those aren't real desserts. You know, I mean, a chocolate bar is not like a real dessert. I'm talking about when you're sitting down and you have a beautiful piece of cake in front of you. It is just magical, absolutely magical. Now, growing up as a kid, I used to spend a lot of time at the cottage because there's not a lot to do in the summertime when you're a kid other than go swimming and start your drinking habit. Now, during the day, on the other hand, you could do a whole bunch of things. There was this one magical store that you would get such beautiful ice cream and they would give it away for almost nothing. Just a couple bucks. God only knows how much it is now. But I would go there and I would just be in heaven. Something about a really hot day and having a beautiful couple scoops of ice cream was just perfect. Having a dessert after a meal, not even just a great meal, just after any meal is a reward. And you should treat dessert like it's your last meal. There was even a point at this store that you could get almost 4 or 5 scoops in one waffle cone. Now, I'm a big guy. I never attempted this. The rumor had it that only one person at the time attempted to do this. And he walked all the way home, and halfway home, it fell. Has that ever happened to anybody out there? You've had a dessert, like an ice cream or a piece of cake, and it's fallen on the floor or the street, or even when you've come home after a hard day's work and you go in the fridge and someone has eaten your shit. I mean, really? What kind of disrespectful behavior is that? Who would do that? Who would have the balls to do that? It's like having one last beer in the fridge. Whenever you go into a fridge and you see one beer left, don't touch it unless it's yours. Don't fucking touch it. Same thing with dessert. You see someone that has one last slice of cake, one cookie, don't fucking touch it. And here's one last piece of advice for men. Women, I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. But for men, just let me say this. If you go out on a first date, get your date something. The simplest thing is a box of chocolates. Don't lie to them and say, oh, I made the chocolates, I made the box. I don't think I've ever done that before. I wouldn't have the balls to do that. I'm just saying, be nice and get them something. Like I said before in many podcasts, we're all disgusting. We really are. But in the end, if the date doesn't work out and she doesn't like the Toronto Maple Leafs as much as you do, or in many cases, she just thinks you're too fucking ugly, worst case scenario, you left them with a beautiful, chocolatey, delicious dessert.